we believe that the future of loyalty is more brand-led than bank-led.
Banks control the data. Brands want to understand this as well.
It is the most cannibalizing mechanism for the retailer, but still you're giving away 6 or 10% of your margin. You can convert every member or every consumer in your community as an identifiable cardholder. So that's the silver bullet, right? That's the secret sauce.
Hello, good evening. Today is February 2026. My name is Archie. I'm Regional Director of Admitad Rewards. Admitad Rewards is where we help to connect brands with real customer spend and unlock the insights and get measurable results with an interesting fintech infrastructure. And today is a very interesting topic to discuss, and there is a very interesting guest, Lansy Joseph.
Thanks for having me here.
Please introduce yourself.
My name is Lansy Joseph. I'm the founder and CEO of Blue Ocean Loyalty, based in the UK, and we recently incorporated here in the UAE with DIFC. Ready for business now in the UAE.
Thank you, Lansy. So what we'll be talking about is where we are in the loyalty ecosystem. It's really a turning point with the AI agentic commerce coming in. The banks are leading a new opportunity with a bank-led loyalty. There are merchant-funded rewards. Let's look deeper. So the product that you're bringing to the market, what it will tell us about.
Sure. So before we go into the product, let's probably look at how the market is structured today. Right? So if I would say the loyalty market today is more bank-led or issuer-led than brand-led. Right. Of course, there are multiple loyalty programs in the market. Many of them like ADCB Touchpoints or from ENBD or Fab Rewards and so on and so forth. Those are the bank loyalty programs, and there are many other brand loyalty programs like Emirates Skywards and Etihad Guest and so on and so forth.
Yeah, and I've been living in UAE for almost 10 years, and I understand how many apps everyone needs, to get benefits.
3 to 5.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm having 8, I think.
Okay. Yeah, the sum of them both. See, the interesting thing there is, despite having so many brands out there or loyalty programs out there, the most valuable loyalty programs, in my view, in the market are the bank loyalty programs today, for a simple reason that the points are replenished month after month because they are funded by what is called the interchange fee, or the revenue that an issuer makes when you pay with your card. That's called the interchange fee. So you might start with, let's say, 5,000 points in your balance, and let's say you redeem them all on a certain purchase. In a month's time, your balance is replenished because you're paying with that card, and new points are coming in. It's getting refilled. Right, so that behavior makes the bank or the issuer loyalty program the most, or relatively the more valuable loyalty program in the ecosystem, right? But there are a few market dynamics that are changing in the near future, with which we believe that the future of loyalty, particularly in the GCC, is more brand-led than bank-led in the future. And our product is essentially one that helps brand lead loyalty in the near future. Basically, what it does is it enables a brand to convert its entire audience into identifiable cardholders. Right, and once you have that, you basically have unlock a massive opportunity to recognize members of a certain loyalty program at checkout, to engage them, reward them, and naturally to monetize them as a program.
Why do you think this shift is happening? Because banks control the data. They know what and where, how much we spend, right? Do you think brands want to understand this as well?
For sure. I mean, data is valuable for, I would say, every stakeholder out there in the market. So, that's one reason for sure. The other reason is, depending on the brand, it's sometimes not possible to get enough recurrence of engagement, right? So for instance, if you are an airline, unless you're a business traveler, you're probably not traveling with the airline more than a couple of times, or let's say 4 or 5 times a year. If you are a fuel program, then you probably have a touch point at least once a week, right? If you're a fashion or a retail program, you could have multiple touch points in frequency and frequent touch points, but then there is a lot of competition in the market. There are many other retail brands and retail loyalty programs that the customer could engage with, right? So in many cases, it's not sufficient that the loyalty program is within your own closed ecosystem, right? So if you need to be relevant in the daily lives of consumers, you need to be basically wherever they are.
Yeah.
Right?
So here we can talk about closed loop and open loop programs.
Right. So traditional loyalty program is typically closed loop, right? So if I take, let's say, Shukran from the Landmark Group, you can collect and redeem your Shukran points within the Landmark brands, right? Yes. So that is a closed loop loyalty program. On the other hand, if you look at, let's say, Skywards, it's what I call a restricted open loop program, because you can collect Skywards miles when you're flying Emirates, you can redeem it on Emirates flights, but you can also collect Skywards miles when you are using the Skywards Everyday app. Right? So it's what I call a restricted open loop mechanism over there. And what works best for loyalty is a restricted open loop mechanism, because unless you're a bank loyalty program...
Or works best, you mean for the brand, not for the customer?
Everyone. No, for everyone.
For the customer as well.
For the customer as well. So imagine this, right? So let's say you're an Emirates customer, right? Or a Skywards member. If you could collect miles only when you fly Emirates, now that's happening occasionally, a few times a year at best. Right? But if you could collect miles on, let's say, every coffee that you get from Costa or Starbucks, for instance.
I do this.
Right. So then it naturally is good for you. So you are being recognized at Costa Coffee or Starbucks for being a Skywards customer. You are being valued by those retail partners for your patronage that you are extending to them as a Skywards member, and you're being rewarded for the patronage, right? So naturally that's valuable for the customer or the consumer as well. It's valuable for the program because, their members are being recognized and rewarded commercially. That's a commercial benefit associated with that as well. And the merchants too, because every merchant in every business wants new customers and more sales from existing customers, right? So
here comes quite a tricky point, the attribution. Again, there's the same example with Skywards Everyday. I have my card attached there, but I also used the in-house Costa loyalty program, and I used the card that is attached to maybe other programs.
Right. So there are a few limitations with the current technology in terms of exactly that aspect of attribution. And that's also one of the challenges associated with the issuer-led nature of payments today, right? So if you're going and grabbing a coffee from, let's say, Costa, you pay with your bank card, right? Your ENBD or FAB or EDCB, depending on which bank you are having a relationship with. Now, since that is the card that you normally use for payment, it is practically impossible to prove whether that purchase was organic or influenced, right? And that's where, the attribution gets a bit vague, right? Because you simply cannot prove that it was incremental from Skywards.
There are existing solutions like click to activate, right? If I go inside, let's say, the bank app, and I choose that I want to redeem this offer, but again, it adds the friction.
It adds friction, exactly. It kind of gets into the territory of, the unnatural user behavior, right? If I want to grab a coffee, I go grab a coffee and I pay with a card or cash, however. Asking the user to take a deviation, a diversion, right, and go to the app and then do something, that's a technical solution, right? Which works on paper, but it struggles in the consumer reality, right? Because you may forget to do that even if you wanted to, because it's such an deviation from your normal behavior, it often gets skipped.
There should be a solution, because again, if we are at this turning point where the brand wants to come in and get the additional data, the banks at the same time, they're upgrading their infrastructure. We see the emerging of digital banks providing more value. The Revolut is already came to UAE, to Dubai. We're all waiting for this. That brings in very interesting propositions, kind of fresh air to the overall system. So what do you think the product that you are building and bringing to the market, can add up, can contribute?
Right. So if you think of it, right, all the value that brands deliver to consumers today is an issuer-led manner, right? So for instance, if you go to some retail outlets, right? The moment you get to the checkout, which is the last point in your shopping journey, the person at the point of sale, the checkout staff may ask you, do you have this card? If you do, then you have a 6% cashback or 10% cashback and so on and so forth. It is the most cannibalizing mechanism for the retailer, because that particular issuer may not have influenced that purchase in any way, but still you're giving away 6 or 10% of your margin by you asking them that question at checkout.
But in this case, they're unlocking the data. Because when they identify me as a customer, not just a random guy who pays for my yogurt and bread and leaves, they get me identified by, let's say, presenting my share ID, right?
No, but so that's a different use case in my opinion, right? So what I'm referring to is when you are giving away a discount to a bank card holder, not a loyalty program member, necessarily a bank card holder, right? Because no influence probably played a role in getting to that point.
I've recently seen this in Choi Trumps. They're offering a cashback if you pay with a HSBC card.
Correct, right? So I mean, Choi Trump does it's something quite smart though. You need to pay with your HSBC as far as I know, and you do need to mention a code that HSBC gives you, right? So that way they manage they avoid the cannibalization, because if you're just an HSBC card holder and you didn't know about this code, or if HSBC didn't tell you that, then you're not getting the benefit, right? So it is managed in that way, but as you can imagine, it's quite some friction.
Again, friction.
It's again some friction, right? So brands still do this despite the cannibalization and the friction, because a bank card holder is the only practically identifiable segment at checkout, right? You can ask them, do you have an HSBC card or an ENBD card or a FAB card or a Mushrik card? And it's easy to say yes or no, or prove that I actually have it.
Online, I see it when I shop at Amazon or Talabat.
Exactly.
When they offer me a different bank option and promo code.
Yeah, because it's easy to easy to identify, it's easy to validate, right? Based on bin numbers and whatnot. You can easily validate also that, this is indeed an HSBC card holder. You can't do that with the same amount of ease for loyalty program members or consumers belonging to a community, a branded community, right? So the solution to that is that you basically make all consumers of a loyalty ecosystem or a brand ecosystem identifiable cardholders at checkout, payment cardholders at checkout.
So that's the key word.
That's the
identifiable
key. At checkout. Exactly. Right. So just like how the retail staff asked today, are you a HSBC card holder? If they can ask you, are you, let's say, a Skywords member, and validate the same way that you are indeed a Skywords member without any friction or integration or training, then that's the solution. And that's exactly what we provide. Now, so we get into that payment space of converting members into card holders, and that's not very straightforward, because in the payment space or the card payment space, going by classification, there are only 3 types of cards. There's a credit card, a debit card, and a prepaid. Right? And a credit card cannot be issued to everyone because it's a credit card. It's dependent on credit worthiness. It mostly always has a joining fee, an annual fee, and stuff like that. The credit limit depends on your credit worthiness, your salary, and stuff like that. So you can't issue a credit card to everyone. You can't practically issue a debit card to everyone either, because it requires the consumer to open a bank account with a particular bank, maintain his balance with them, and so on and so forth.
Certain QIC.
Exactly. It works in theory, again, doesn't work in practice. Prepaid technically can work, but it's again friction, because the consumer needs to top up the card before spending, which means he needs to pre-calculate in his mind, how much am I going to spend? Right, and make sure there's sufficient funds, otherwise it gets declined at the point of sale, which is sometimes embarrassing as well, right? So that's where our invention comes in. So we call it the loyalty native flexible credential. So for all practical purposes, it's a digital payment card.
Could you repeat, because it sounds interesting but quite sophisticated?
It's a loyalty native flexible credential.
Okay.
We call it loyalty native because there are also scheme native flexible credentials, right? So there are propositions from Visa that's called the Visa flexible credential. There are propositions from MasterCard, which is called MasterCard One Credential. They are both collectively called scheme native flexible credentials. They're great for banking use cases. They're not built for loyalty use cases, right? So given our loyalty focus, we have created a loyalty native flexible credential, which is designed ground up for loyalty and performance marketing use cases, right? And with that, it's a digital payment card. It can be Visa, MasterCard, or J1 schemed, right? Depending on brand preferences and local regulations. It does not have a balance. It does not have a credit line, which means you can, and it's a digital card,
and
right?
It's
so you
not
can issue
associated with any account. at this
Correct.
point.
Yeah. I mean, technically speaking, the way banking infrastructure is set up, there is an account, but the account does not have balance. It does not have a credit line. Exactly. Right. And that, the combination of it being digital with no balance in credit line enables us to issue it at scale to all members of a community. Right. And with that, if your loyalty program is 1 million or 5 million or relatively small, let's say 500,000, doesn't really matter. You can convert every member or every consumer in your community as an identifiable cardholder, right? So that's the silver bullet, right? That's the secret sauce that solves the fundamental challenge. And once you have solved this, naturally you can enrich the proposition towards the consumer, right? So it can be, if you are a Skyward's blue member, you have certain benefits. If you are a silver member, you have different benefits. If you're a platinum, you have different benefits, and so on and so forth. But the fundamental is that you're identifiable.
Not a thing-fit-all approach, right?
Exactly. Yeah. It needs to be personalized for two reasons, actually. From the consumer perspective, not every member is the same, so he should not be valued or given the same benefits. From the merchant's perspective, the one who's funding the rewards, right? He also, for practical commercial reasons, cannot value every member the same.
Just give an example. If we talk that there is cashback or points,
correct,
or instant discount, just give us a real example.
Sure. So let's take the example of base tier member in a program, right? Now, one of the aspects of that segment of the program might be that the average transaction value is a certain amount. Let's say it's 100 dirhams for the sake of an example, right? So a merchant who's funding the rewards would have a certain margin that they are willing to give away if the transaction size is 100 dirhams, right? On the other hand, there can be a higher segment where the average transaction size is higher. Let's say it's 500, right? And merchants naturally would be willing to give a steeper discount when the transaction size is fivefold, like that. Right? So from the merchant's perspective, it cannot be one size fits all for this reason. It has to be proportionate to the value that's delivered by the consumer. Now, it can also be overlaid with other aspects in terms of whether this is a first time engagement, whether this is a repeat engagement, and so on and so forth. So a brand or a merchant can incentivize a new customer different from a repeat customer. And even a repeat customer, for instance, who is doing the first purchase is obviously a new customer, but a repeat customer engaging with you the second time, the third time, fourth time, you don't necessarily need to, and you shouldn't treat them all the same. And
I just got an idea. Maybe you have this in your product. So when a brand offers an opportunity to get the value, this incentive, can they somehow automatically ask, look, if you share with us some extra data that is already pre-installed in the personal profile, we give you more discount?
I mean, technically, yes, right? I'm personally of the opinion that zero-party data, as it's called, right, where you are declaring a certain, preference or behavior, is not very reliable in the long run. Yeah. Because it may ask you, do you like ice cream, for instance? And you would say, yes, I like. Right. You would say a certain answer, but given the actual context of whether you would buy the ice cream, you may not buy the ice cream, right? So I personally do not attach a lot of value to zero-party data of that kind. I attach more value to contextual data, right? Proven by behavior. Right? Given a context of, let's say there was, let's take an example, right? Let's say the brand offers a 5% cashback or 5% cashback in points for spend up to 100 dirhams, right? And it says there is 7.5% cashback for spend that's beyond 100 up to 250, let's say. Now, did customer behavior change when you moved from a simple offer where you gave everyone 5% to a tiered structure where you split it 5 versus 7.5? That, in my opinion, is more reliable as a data point, because customers didn't say that I will spend more if I got more. Yeah. It shows from their behavior. Did they actually spend more when there was a higher offer, or still did they just spend 100, right? So I think I would attach more value to such behavioral data than declarative data.
But density of data, right? So if the person uses his card that he pays, I mean, the brand, whether it's a brand-led loyalty, they receive a lot of, it's unstructured data, right? The question is, can you help them assemble the strategies, based on this? For sure. So what they should do, because it now looks like there's similarities with the performance marketing, right?
See, that's a very good point, actually. Now, in my opinion, loyalty is a form of performance marketing.
Yeah.
Because when you look at loyalty, you need to break it down to kind of see it that way. Let's take the example of Skywards and Emirates, right? Emirates, you earn Skywards miles with Emirates when you fly with Emirates and you identify yourself as a Skywards member, right? During the registration, pre-flight, or as a retro claim post-flight. It's dependent on you identifying yourself as a member and you using the service of the business, right? And both these two conditions need to be satisfied for you to be collecting Skywards from Emirates, right? Identification and the commercial engagement. Now, if you look at this engagement from a classical performance marketing perspective, Skywards would be the publisher and Emirates would be the advertiser, right? Now, so loyalty is performance marketing when publisher and advertiser are one and the same entity or one and the same business, right? And when publisher and advertiser are not in the same entity, that is your classical performance marketing, and that's exactly where a performance marketing network is needed in between, because they are two entities. They don't know each other. There's no relationship technically or business wise, and that's why you need a facilitator, the performance marketing network, like Admitad is in this case, right? So loyalty is performance marketing within an organization where you don't need a third party to facilitate. And your traditional performance marketing is one which happens across two entities where you do need a facilitator.
And now your product helps to unlock, again, the more data to make this cooperation, this kind of third-party cooperation, more relevant.
In both cases.
In both cases. Again, if we talk about performance, everyone needs a return on investment.
Yes.
On their marketing performance spent.
Yeah, and that's again a very interesting point. So because in my opinion, the industry doesn't see it this way. It doesn't see loyalty as a form of performance marketing. Brands often use different solutions for running their own loyalty program and for third-party performance marketing, right? So the system for loyalty is either proprietary, built custom, or a vendor solution, but definitely a different solution compared to performance marketing, right? It may have worked this way, but it's very inefficient and expensive. And when it comes to brand partnerships, it simply doesn't scale, because they are just built as two different silos. They're not interoperable, basically, right? So what we do with our proposition is, it's one interoperable infrastructure that works for operating or running your own loyalty program or for brand partnerships. It doesn't matter, right? So if I am let's say a Shukran member, as an example, if I'm a Shukran member and I'm interacting with or I'm shopping with a landmark brand and I identify myself as a Shukran member, then I pay with the Shukran card. Let's say the one that we issue is imagine we don't issue one, but let's imagine we do, right? Identify myself as a Shukran member. I pay with the Shukran branded card and I collect Shukran benefits, right? On the other hand, if I am a Skywards member that I'm shopping with the same landmark brand, I identify myself as a Skywards consumer
and
member.
Also you can have tiered, different.
For same, yeah. You could even say that a Skywards member shopping at Landmark collects, Landmark funded Skywards points. And in doing so, if you have not yet registered for the Landmark Shukran program, that you can seamlessly register as well, right? So Landmark in that scenario benefits from sales from a partner program and a partner audience, and also member enrollments, right? So it can be structured depending on what the brand intent is. Is it new customers? Is it incremental sales? Is it new enrollments into my program? Right? So that's what we help the brands and the merchants strategize.
It's under their control again.
Exactly.
They're led to closed loop or open loop, or I can understand.
Exactly. And then that's important in such an ecosystem. It should not be that technology defines, the construct that the brands need to adopt. Technology is an enabler. And it should be driven by the brand intent, right? The brand needs to say, okay, this is my objective, and the technology needs to be capable enough to facilitate that.
To satisfy this demand.
Exactly.
But again, we coming organically, to the attribution question again, because we've been comparing loyalty and performance. And in performance, we all know that there are Google Meta pixels everyone installs to get attribution properly through the performance marketing channel. And you're rolling out this new opportunity with this very sophisticated long description. So that the attribution here, you're rolling it out not on an empty market. Again, there are existing programs.
Correct.
So the question again, the attribution.
Based on your form of payment, right? So taking your example earlier, if you're grabbing a coffee from Costa Coffee and you are a Costa Rewards member and a Skywards member, if you choose to identify yourself as a Costa Rewards member and pay with the Costa card, then you get the Costa benefits. If you choose to identify yourself as a Skywards member and pay with a Skywards card, you get the Skywards benefit, right? So you choosing the card is basically the proof of your attribution, right? If you bought the coffee as an organic customer, not influenced by Costa Rewards or Skywards, then you pay with your regular ENBD, your standard payment card, right? And in that case, it's clear that it was an organic spend. It was not influenced by any loyalty program or brand partnerships. This guy it is a walk-in.
It would be good if they can send me push and tell, look, if you are the part of the program, you would earn, let's say, X amount of points or cash back, because now I'm getting this after I paid. Let's say it was my ticket loyalty program. I paid with an attached card somewhere. Again, without knowing it, I get a notification. Look, you've just earned your points.
Yeah. So in the case of card linking, in the case of traditional card linking, it's the way it functions, right? So card linking works on the basis of what is called transaction spotting, right? So there is, in a transaction, there are multiple stakeholders, the issuer, acquirer, scheme, and so on and so forth, who see a transaction. And depending on how your card linking partnerships are structured, one of those stakeholders who's able to see the transaction spots the transaction between a linked card and a participating merchant and tells you, hey, this transaction happened. It's always after the event. Always. Right? So in our case, it's first of all a fundamentally different mechanism, right? It's a regular card-based process. We're in the processing flow, not after the event. So we process the transaction ourselves. We see it in real time.
Also where the value comes. Right?
Exactly. Right? So if you are, again, let's say the Skywards member, you have the Skywards app, you have, let's say, push notifications and location permissions enabled and so on and so forth, and you are in a mall, right? And you are in the vicinity of Costa Coffee or Starbucks or whatever the partner might be, the app can push, personalized notifications to you saying that, there is a Costa Coffee around and you can collect Skywards miles for it, or this is the amount of miles for it. Maybe there is a time limited offer running, right? Which says, okay, within the next 30 minutes, if you grab the coffee from Costa or Starbucks, that you get additional points or whatever the benefit might be. Now, personalization or such personalized notifications need to be intelligent as well, particularly in this day and age. It shouldn't be that you just grabbed a coffee from Costa and you walk past a Starbucks and you get another push notification saying that there is now a Starbucks offer, right? That's irrelevant because you just grabbed a coffee from Costa and you know this from the transaction data, right? So there are fundamental requirements, from a technology standpoint that are important to ensure relevance of how the marketing and the personalization is delivered to a consumer. If it's always after the event and if there is a phase lag or if the data that you're getting is not reliable, then your personalization also goes for a toss.
We've just discussed many, real scenarios, real life use cases. And we were talking more about the offline, where we go physically to Costa Coffee or Starbucks, paying with a card. If we talk about online, and again, the trend is there, the AI, agentic commerce, all the things are happening. How your proposition is positioned there?
Yeah, so specifically about agentic commerce, right? It's a world of its own, right? Because you as a consumer are not, call it party to the transaction, right? You're instructing, let's say ChatGPT or whatever the agentic model might be to do a transaction on your behalf, right? And it goes through, let's say, whatever the protocol might be to execute the instruction that has been given to it, right? So in that particular context, unless loyalty or the form of performance marketing, the intent of the consumer, why is he doing the transaction from a brand perspective, unless that is embedded in the form of payment that is being done, it's lost, right? Because let's take an example, right? Let's say you're ordering food from Talabat, right? And you pay with your ENBD card. Intent is lost, right? But if you are paying with your Skywards co-branded with the NBD card as an example, then the intent is intact, right? You want the food delivered by Talabat, but you also want the Skywards benefit associated with it, and that's why you pay with a Skywards card, right? And the easiest form of doing this is embedding what we call loyalty inside payment, because then for the regular world outside, be it the gateway, the issuer, the acquirer, the scheme, and the agent involved, it looks like a standard card, right? But the intelligence of why actually this card is behind the card and basically orchestrated by our system, right? So there are, of course, different companies trying to solve this particular use case in different ways. Our belief is that embedding it in the form of payment is the way to go.
But I immediately imagine myself when I'm asking my AI agent, please pay at a certain website for my online purchase, but use the best loyalty opportunity to get me the best value, right? So there is no decision anymore for me to think, I want to identify myself as a Skywards member with this online map because tomorrow I might fly somewhere, I need more miles.
See, I agree that is very much a consumer mindset, right? But if you look from the advertiser standpoint, that's not why he is promoting or funding these rewards, right? Because in this particular case, attribution is actually not there because none of the brands that the merchant is partnering with has influenced this transaction. The consumer wanted to make that purchase in Talabat and say, okay, you just use the best card. There's no attribution over there actually, right? There's just cannibalization, right? So, I think, I'm kind of pro-advertiser in this context while making sure that the interests of all parties are secured, right? The advertisers should have to pay for transactions only, that are undeniably attributable.
Yeah, properly attributed.
Yeah. Right? And attribution then needs to be unique, saying that this brand or this campaign or this influencer influenced the transaction, right? Otherwise, it's not enough proof of attribution.
No, that's actually, but still, we are at that point that not everyone starts using agentic commerce. It's still
not yet.
A question of maybe few years.
But I think it'll happen a lot sooner,
Sooner.
Yeah. And I've been here in Dubai for a couple of weeks now, and I've used, let's say, the Talabat app quite a few times. It has overwhelming volume of content options, right? Of the same kind, multiple restaurants, multiple cuisines, and so on and so forth. And I think this is one use case where agentic commerce can be very helpful for the consumer in reducing the number of decisions he needs to make, right? So if it feels like having food of a particular cuisine, right? I think it's easier for the user to say, okay, I'd like to have Arabic food today, or I would like to have Chinese today, or Mexican today, whatever it might be, right? And then leave it, to the Talabat agent, so to say, to figure out what are the restaurants available, which ones, closer to where you are, which is better aligned with the food that you've ordered in the past and stuff like that, and make the decision on your behalf. So I personally think it will happen a lot sooner than we currently expect.
So we've started with our discussion with the topic of reducing friction for people when they buy something. Yeah. Now we're talking about agentic commerce again, saving time, because we all understand the time is the resource we cannot add. We cannot add up more hours in the 24-hour day. So that's why it's all about saving time, making people happier.
Fewer decisions to make as a consumer, right? Or so that you kind of reserve your cognitive capabilities for the more important decisions rather than the relatively less important decisions of the kind. Of course, assuming that AI makes a more or less similar decision as what you would have made. It's just that it would have taken you a lot more time and energy to make the decision.
Yeah. Right? So in general, we can say that this new proposition and the way you deal with this again very complicated, very interesting combination of words you might repeat again is for the good, and it's future proof.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. That's a very good point. Actually, technology is evolving at such a pace that you do need to ensure that your technology or your innovation is relevant for this era and definitely for the foreseeable future. Of course, unfortunately, we cannot predict the distant future, but at least you have a sense of where it's possibly going. And yes, we've made sure that it is future-proof to the foreseeable extent.
Yeah. And now we're again sitting here in Dubai. Where would you position the Emirates, the region, on this big loyalty map? Because all regions are different.
Oh, yes. I mean, within the GCC, and this is my personal view, of course, I'm of the opinion that the loyalty market is most mature in the UAE. And you can see that by the number of loyalty programs that are there. As you said, you have 8 programs, right? And, so it's a very mature market in that sense, right? Loyalty in general as a discipline is quite mature. From a professional standpoint, you would find a lot of good marketing and loyalty talent in the market as well, which is also an indicator of the market maturity in a particular discipline. Among the GCC countries, right? I think UAE is the most mature. I think I would put Saudi second, as not in terms of necessarily maturity, but in terms of the opportunity. It is much larger as a market than the UAE, and they have a lot of an ambitious plan for 2030. So there is, essentially a leap that needs to happen in terms of the state of the art of loyalty marketing and loyalty technology that's currently being used in the kingdom versus what it should ideally be, so that those, the Vision 2030 objectives can be met.
Yeah.
So our focus is essentially also, consequently, the 2 countries. UAE is a strategic market for the GCC, and it's followed by Saudi Arabia.
Okay. Question there what would you, advise for a brand operating here in the market, and taking into consideration with this new opportunities and the future we're looking to?
So I think brands need to move away from measuring their success in terms of, let's say, the quantifiable activities, like for instance, how big is my member base, right? To how many millions of members do I have, to how valuable is my program for my members, right? And you can measure it in terms of how engaged are my members with me, right? So even if I have a relatively small program of, let's say, 1 million or even a few hundreds of thousands, if the engagement rate is high, if the value that the members are getting and my program is delivering to them is kind of high, I think that is a success of the loyalty program.
Yeah, and maybe even how much data I have about the members, because the data unlocks what we can do further in future, what kind of product we can create, a service for the customer.
So to that, right, data is unlocked when you engage, right? So having more data is proof of engagement to begin with, and as you rightly said, that data also gives you more insight into what are the interests and what how can I drive even more value for this audience. Indeed.
That's a great advice. Please write it down, everyone. So you gave an advice for the brand. Shall we give an advice for the banks?
I would have one, yes. And I think to a certain extent, at least the major banks have been.
And it's your personal advice.
Yes, of course it is. Right. I mean, if you look at the banking sector, right, if you look at the cards, there are issuer cards or issuer branded cards like your ENBD card, for instance, and there are co-branded cards, right? Your ENBD Skywards card, for instance, right? Now, for some banks, they fully focus on the issuer products, not on the co-brands, and some of them do have some focus on the co-brands. My view is that as the loyalty landscape in the GCC moves from bank-led to brand-led, the significance of co-branded cards would increase in the near future. Right? In fact, our product is a co-branded card, right? Also from that perspective, there would be, in terms of share of wallet and so on and so forth, I think there would be more co-branded cards in the market than there would be issuer cards. Your issuer cards continue to remain the funding source, right? Behind the scenes, but the brand that the user sees when he's engaging, right, would be a Skywards card or would be a Shukran card.
So
a brand-led one.
So the advice to the banks in this case would be, get the infrastructure ready for this.
Be open to those opportunities. In fact, there was an article on payments.com from the VP of Loyalty Solutions of Visa, and it is more of an advice towards issuers to think about alternative funding models than interchange funded rewards, or credit card rewards as they're traditionally called, to start looking at or to look at or to be open to, right, alternative models. So it's coming from Visa, so obviously it's a good indication of where the market is headed, and I think there is a lot of resonance among issuers as well on that message. So yeah, I think that is where the market is going, and I think that's where, in my opinion, the leading issuers of a market, of any market for that matter, should be open to opportunities in that direction.
Understood. And the last advice for today, for the customers, because people who work in the bank, they're also customers themselves when they go home after work.
Right.
People who work for the brand, they're also customers. We are customers and users ourselves. So what kind of advice would you give, to us, please?
Value your affiliation to a brand, right? So, if you are frequent flyer with Emirates, or if you shop or if you fill petrol frequently with Enoch, or you shop frequently with Landmark or Shaloop Group, or Alshaya, and so on and so forth. Value your brand associations, right? And make sure you are getting that value in return, the reciprocity in return, in terms of being recognized wherever you go, and being rewarded, because of your brand affiliation, right? So going back to our example, collecting Skywards from Costa Coffee because you're a Skywards member is basically an outcome of that recognition and the value that the brand is, or let's say Costa is giving you because you are a Skywards member, right? I think consumers need to be more conscious of the value they hold in themselves as being a valuable consumer in the market, and make sure that that they are choosing the right brand affiliation that gives them the maximum value consciously, not subconsciously, not after the event, right? But in a manner that their actions or your purchase decisions are indeed being influenced by it.
But soon we'll be able to ask our AI agent to help us, identify this value.
That's where I see a bit of the challenge.
And
the
that's
blur.
Topic for the next.
For sure. Let's give AI a bit of time as well to evolve, so that we can make a better judgment of where it's going on that front.
Yeah. So Admitad Rewards together on the same table with the Blue Ocean Loyalty. Why we're together? So there is a certain interesting partnership. Is there. That's why we're here. The partnership is about unlocking this new opportunity, because at this point there are more stakeholders involved. It's a bank-led ecosystem, it's a brand-led ecosystem, there is a customer. Admitad, as an experienced performance marketing and affiliate marketing platform, has the know-how of connecting the stakeholders, being a single window where everything can operate. And the Blue Ocean Loyalty brings in the know-how of this completely new opportunity that unlocks this additional value we've been discussing today. So what do you think we can highlight as the most important case in the partnership? What's you feel it's all of it?
I think it's the fundamental enabling technology layer, right? So as a performance marketing network, you have publishers on one side, you have your advertisers on the other side. The key prerequisite for the network and that ecosystem to function is that you have undeniable attribution, right? And for that, you should be able to track every transaction and be able to attribute every transaction as whether it was organic or whether it was influenced, and when it was influenced, who influenced it, like which publisher influenced it, right? And if you look at affiliate marketing in the past, it was dependent on cookie tracking, and then GDPR came in, and so on and so forth. So there's always in the past, let's say 5 to 10 years, that particular area of attribution has been under constant challenge, right? With what we are offering, whereby we convert every consumer of the publisher into an identifiable card holder, that attribution, those challenges are completely taken care of, right? Because if I pay at the advertiser app, or in a website, or in a kiosk, or however, like whatever the channel might be, as long as I pay with my publisher branded or co-branded card, attribution is clear, right? I did it because I am a consumer of this publisher, of this brand, and I did it because I wanted the rewards associated with that brand, right? So it doesn't matter if cookies are disabled or cookies are blocked or whatever, the underlying situation might be. It's a standard card transaction, which we can obviously track because we are processing it. and we are able to then prove the attribution. So that's fundamental in a performance marketing network, because if you cannot prove attribution, your advertisers would at least doubt they're having cannibalization, and the big ones or the enterprise grade advertisers do not join the network. And if you don't have a strong advertiser network, publishers are not going to come, right? So
chicken and egg.
It's a chicken and egg problem. So you solve the fundamental challenge of attribution with our technology, which is built ground up to solve attribution, right? And then you basically have a proposition that is, kind of robust and relevant to both the publishers who are monetizing their audience and for the advertisers who are basically getting incremental sales.
Yeah, and navigating in this ecosystem, which is again setting up now and being at the same time future-proof, it's a tough journey. So that's why we shaked hands and decided to go through this journey together. So supporting each other,
correct,
unlocking additional value, giving value to people around. And I think it's something that we should keep doing. I mean, talking about this, because it unlocks a lot of interesting knowledge.
Yeah.
Throughout the dialogue that we have.
I mean, I'm a firm believer of partnership, right? Of complementary partnerships where we have the same intent, right? And we are kind of looking forward to each other's success.
And I would call it a synergy where it's not 2 + 2 = 4, but it's much more.
Indeed.
Yeah. That's great. Thank you very much. For today, the important thing that I can see here from the notes that we need to tell everyone that there are links in the description. So you can find all the information also on our LinkedIn. There is a lot to discuss, and it would be very great opportunity to engage into more dialogue. We can invite people. We need to talk. It's something that still part of the truth is uncovered.
It is a relatively new technology, so yes, there is quite some market awareness that needs to be generated. I'm sure there would be more questions that come up in the minds of whoever is watching the podcast. And yes, I think we do need to have an opportunity whereby we can address those questions.
Yeah. Please, guys, like the video. I'm telling this for the first time. Like the video, subscribe. Follow us everywhere, and let's meet in person for the genuine discussion further. It's a very interesting topic. Thank you very much.
Thank you.